Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my channel. I am Coach Sherry, and this channel is about workforce development, career readiness, entrepreneurship, real life, real issues, and real talk. Today is day 28 of 60, where I am going live every day for 60 days. And it is my pleasure to be here with you today. I was busy putting the content together because today is Sunday, but you might be watching this on Monday or any other day of the week. Either way, this content is still going to be relevant. This is going to be evergreen content, meaning no matter when you listen to this or when it could be during the week of this week or next year or the years to come, this information I know will still be relevant. And for this session, I hope you have your pen and paper ready because there's going to be a lot of notes that you're going to want to capture. And you might be saying, Coach Sherry, I'm not getting a pen and paper. I don't have one nearby. But trust me, you are going to want to capture some notes. And luckily, this is recorded, so you will be able to pause, rewind, replay, whatever you need to do to go back and hear what the message was or what the steps were. Because I believe in leaving you with nuggets that you can implement into your life right away. That is something that is so important to me. And when I do any type of training or presentation, I always encourage the audience to have their pen and paper to take notes. But if it's a small enough group, I will do a wraparound and ask, what is that one nugget that you're taking away? That one thing that you are absolutely going to implement into your life after this event. So, again, I hope you have your pen and paper ready. And I want to welcome the 200 plus people that are in the live and who are watching the replay. I appreciate your support. Thank you so much for being here. I see Slasher Chick is in the building. Yes, I promise you, Slasher Chick, you are going to want to take notes from this session. I wrote my own notes down prior to, and when I do something like this that's on the lines of life coaching, um, I always work alongside of my groups. We all can use improvement, so I'm here for it. Thank you for being here. Yes, thank you. All right, let's jump right in. So, this is the quality audit, life quality audit, and it's going to be tips for you to have a better week. So, we have many areas in our lives that may need improvement. You may look at it and say, I could do better over there. But you don't always know exactly what area of your life and how you can get better or do better. So that is what this session is going to be, but we're only going to target three areas, and those are going to be your physical, mental, and emotional. And we're going to do, it's not a quiz because it's nothing right or wrong. It's really what's true for you. But we're going to take a short assessment, and it's going to be of your internal control, and the outcome of your responses will be the mirror for you to see the changes you need to address. Oftentimes we don't get a chance to make those changes because we don't hold that mirror up. But when you hold that mirror up today in this session, I want you to look directly into your eyes and let yourself know you're not letting yourself down. You are here to improve, to be the greatest you that you can possibly be. Hi, Life with Marlene. How are you doing? Thanks for tuning in and joining us. I love, love, love your thumbnail picture. I love it. I wish I was there right now, for sure. Okay, so the first thing that you want to write on your paper is physical, mental, emotional. All right. And so we can consider recommendations for improvement together. So again, we're doing this together. And these are the three areas that we're going to do the audit on. We're going to make some affirmative statements, and you are going to rate yourself 1 through 5. And your physical quality is shaped by how you organize your surroundings and maintain your body. Your mental quality depends on how you handle your mental load of tasks and projects. And your emotional quality mirrors your internal emotions and your strategies for managing them. So, again, we're focusing on these three key qualities of life, and they will help you become more rejuvenated, eliminate gaps, and enhance your potential to achieve greatness, not just for this week coming up, but moving forward. So, as you make these changes that are necessary this week, you're not going to be able to do it one and done. These are going to be the start of developing new habits. So let's get started with our audit so we can have a productive week. So, again, I'm going to have a series of statements for each quality, and you will rate yourself from 1 to 5. 1 means never no, and 5 means always yes. So let's go to physical. We're going to start with physical. So on your paper, under physical, you can either write these statements down or just put your rate. Now, mind you, if this was a true group coaching session, we would share the rates at the end and deep dive into them. But for the purposes of this, especially because people will watch this on replay, these responses are going to just be for your eyes only. If you need additional deep dive and we have time at the end, you can ask questions. But let's begin. The first is physical. I set aside time for hobbies and self care to rejuvenate physically. Now you're rating yourself 1 to 5. 1 is never no, and up to 5 is always yes. Your rates can be 2, 3, or 4. Again, it's 1 through 5. Do you set aside time for hobbies and self care to rejuvenate physically? I'll give you a moment to rate yourself in that area. This is when I wish I had some music, some music playing. All right. If you can put a letter P in the comments, in the chat, to let me know that you rated yourself for this first statement under physical. Put a letter P in the chat. And if you're watching this on replay, you can put a letter P in the comment, or you can just fast forward a little bit to the next statement. All right, I see Slasher Chick has hers. Thank you. All right, the second one for physical. I maintain a balanced diet, exercise regularly, and ensure adequate sleep to take care of my health. Again, you're rating yourself 1 to 5. 1 is you never do that, up to 5, which is always and yes. I maintain a balanced diet, exercise regularly, and ensure adequate sleep to take care of my health. All right, let's move on to the third physical, and that is my home is tidy, organized, and a true reflection of my identity. Again, you're going to rate yourself 1 through 5. Thank you, Slasher Chick. My home is tidy, organized, and a true reflection of my identity. Okay. The next for physical, my workspace is structured to be productive and supportive of my activities. My workspace is structured to be productive and supportive of my activities. Remember, you're rating yourself 1 through 5. And you're not talking about your office as a whole, but your workspace. So if you work in a building or something, and if the building is wrecked, but your office is organized, so be it. For instance, my office, I don't turn my overhead lights on. I use Einstein light bulbs, which are so beautiful. And I have these special kind of old school. They look like they're from the 1920s light fixtures, and it brings off of a more of a calming ambiance. So I don't have that harsh white lighting in my office. My office has a more, everyone always says how relaxed they feel when they come in, but it's just an inviting, welcoming space. So lighting has a lot to do with that. But in addition to that, everything is organized and has a place. So is your workspace structured to be productive and supportive of your activities? Number 5 for physical is my possessions are well maintained, suit my needs, and express my individuality. My possessions are well maintained, suit my needs, and express my individuality. Again, you're rating yourself 1 through 5. Yes, it also could include your digital workspace. Definitely. How organized, how easy is it for you to find those files that you may have digitally? And that takes me back to when I shared in that meeting I was in, and they were wondering what we had discussed. And I opened up my planner and was able to quickly find it. And everyone else that had it in their notes on their computers couldn't find it as quickly as I could. So their digital space may not be as organized. All right. Now let's move to mental. To mental. So we're going to look at the audit for the quality of lifestyle that you have for your mental. And the first is I agreed to commitments only when they align with my time, availability, and resonate with my values and priorities. And instead of I agreed, I believe it should be I agree. I agree to commitments only when they align with my time, availability, and resonate with my values and priorities. Please be true to you when you answer these. Sometimes people will rate themselves higher than they really need to be or really are, because they're almost embarrassed for themselves. But be true for you in these responses, because that's the only way you're going to be able to do the deep dives and not avoid the areas that need to be improved. Okay. So this section now should say mental. Okay. This is the mental quality. Number 2 is I tackle tasks promptly as they arise or schedule them appropriately, avoiding the burden of a mental to do list. For mental, I tackle tasks promptly as they arise or schedule them appropriately, avoiding the burden of a mental to do list. And I really like that word burden being put in there when I was doing it, because I was trying to think of something that was kind of rough around the edges that would kind of hit. And let me tell you, if you are trying to keep everything in your head of things that you need to do, that is a burden, because you have to rely on your mental capacity and things will come up. Tasks will arise and in a moment, and you have to always reorganize your to-do list. So you need to have them put down on paper or, on some type of form on your computer, digitally somehow, but you need to keep track and you need to do it in a way that is scheduled and appropriate. So, figuring that out early is really beneficial. Being that today is Sunday and we're, getting ready to start our next week, tonight or early tomorrow morning will be a good time to figure out what you have on your to-do list for this week and write it all out. And as new things come up, prioritize appropriately. All right, perfect. Thank you, Slasher Chick. All right. The next is for mental. I focus my concern on matters within my influence, letting go of those beyond my control. I focus my concern on matters within my influence, letting go of those beyond my control. It's so amazing how invested people will get in other people's issues and challenges, and they are not in position, in place, in even in the realm of things to actually do anything. But because they are so invested in what other people are doing, it messes them up for what they have to do. I remember my niece when she was younger, and she was in another state, like states away from her friends, and she was young in elementary school, and she was on the phone, and it was like this whole situation, and I'm like, are you kidding me? You're having a challenge with those friends that are in New Jersey when you're here. You can't even do anything about what's going on over there. You're allowing their problems affects how you are, handling things here. You're fun, you're having a good time, and you're allowing their problems all, states away, hundreds of miles away, to affect you. And so a lot of times that happens to grown-ups, and it messes them up at work or in relationships. So I focus my concern on matters within my influence, letting go of those beyond my control. The next, and let me check the comments. Thank you. I'm glad. Yes, how you're living right now. And these audits really need to be done twice a year at least, so that you can kind of reevaluate. There may be things that come up in your life, personally, professionally, relationships, whatever, that will change the course of the quality of your life. And so you want to make sure you're still on the right track. So, this next mental, I embrace reality and potentialities, releasing myself from the binds of what was, what isn't, and what cannot be. I embrace reality and potentialities, releasing myself from the binds of what was, what isn't, and what cannot be. So many people, the shoulda, woulda, couldas, that becomes very challenging sometimes for people. It paralyzes some people where they just can't move forward. They just keep reverting back to what shoulda, coulda, woulda. And that ship has sailed. So, what's the right now? So, how are you rating yourself for that one? All right, let's pivot into emotional quality. Emotional. I communicate in a clear, honest, and open manner, even when the topics are uncomfortable or sensitive. I communicate in a clear, honest, and open manner, even when the topics are uncomfortable or sensitive. And for me, I actually prefer communicating in this way. A lot of people they avoid these types of conversations, conversations that might be uncomfortable or sensitive. But in reality, when you get it out, and you get it out in a constructive way and in an effective way, it actually turns out not to be that bad. And it turns out that everyone wants to be on the same page. Sometimes the person that you may have the challenge with just doesn't know. A lot of times, common sense is not common to everyone. So it's important to communicate in a clear, honest, and open manner when topics are uncomfortable or sensitive, to get your point out. The next emotional, I tackle issues, problems, and questions as they arise, dealing directly with those involved or who can resolve them. I tackle issues, problems, and questions as they arise, dealing directly with those involved or who can resolve them. And to me, that goes into gossip. If you are just, talking about it, not being about it, talking about the problem to everyone that is not involved, everyone that can't even help the situation, then that's not going to solve the problem. So you have to tackle those issues, problems, and questions right at that moment and deal directly with them, with the people that are involved, or maybe someone who can help, a third party, someone that's more of a mediator. But you definitely want to do that as soon as you can. I remember someone had a issue with me, and I had to go to them years and years and years later. I met them as a grown woman, and it was years and years later when I'm like, what's really going on with our relationship? What's happening? And they were talking about a situation that happened years before that, maybe 5 to 6 years before. And they just held on to that issue, which it turns out wasn't even the situation. It was their perspective, but that's not how it went down. And I said to them, why didn't you say anything to me then? We wasted all these years, you feeling some kind of way towards me. And I was grown when that happened. You were grown when that happened. So we could have absolutely had a real conversation about that. There's no reason why we had to drag this out. And, for me, it was like, it's enough. Enough is enough. I have to get to the bottom of this. What's really going on? And it should have been at that moment when you felt that this is what the situation was for you to address it then. So don't hold on to things. Tackle the issues and problems as they arise. It makes things so much easier. The next emotional, I establish firm boundaries for my time and attention, respect others' boundaries, and expect the same respect in return. I'm sorry, I have too many commas in that one. I got comma happy with that. So again, it's I establish firm boundaries for my time and attention, respect others' boundaries, and expect the same respect in return. And, sometimes I know when I do trainings, and if I have a unruly group, which is not often, but if I do, I always show people respect. And if they're too unruly, I'll stop and I'll say, have I been disrespectful to you? So then why would you be disrespectful to me? One day you might be up here, and trust, you would not want anyone in the audience to do the things that you're doing. It could be, them on their phone when I had clearly did housekeeping and said, put your phones away, please, and put them on vibrate. It could be, early in the morning if they're sleepy. I'm like, I'm sleepy too. It's early in the morning for me. So, it's establishing those firm boundaries for your time and attention, and also respecting everyone else's boundaries. Don't ask someone to do something in terms of how they should deal with you that you won't do for them as well. The next emotional, I acknowledge and respect my emotions, whether positive or negative, without judging myself or invading my feelings. I acknowledge and respect my emotions, whether positive or negative, without judging myself or invading my feelings. You'll be surprised at how many people, don't respect their own emotions. They won't allow themselves to feel. If they feel sad, happy, glad, if they feel nervous, if they feel anxious, they don't even put a name to it. They just don't even use their feelings words, which there's names for every feeling that we have. And when you can honor the way that you're feeling, you can really tackle it better. You can express it to others so maybe they can, handle you in a different way. But definitely you want to acknowledge and respect your own emotions. That's very important. So Slasher Chick is saying, now I'm trying to figure out what I will choose to do when I've gone directly to the source, but they don't agree that it's a problem. Feels like my only option is to change the relationship. Yeah, and sometimes it comes down to that. That's when, listen, when I approached that person, and I made sure it was a clear one-on-one conversation, uninterrupted one-on-one conversation. And it wasn't necessarily resolved. However, I gave them something else to think about because all those years they had thought the situation happened one way when it they misinterpreted the whole situation, and the situation wasn't even directed towards them. And even if they, their ego may not have allowed them to say, you know what, Sherry, we're good. You're right. I'm wrong. Their ego wouldn't allow them to say that. So I won't say we, resolved it necessarily, but it wasn't tense anymore because both of our sides got out and they understood that they were the ones that were mistaken. So, and it doesn't mean that we went back kumbaya or anything, but sometimes just to clear the air for me, because if we're going to ever be in the same space for any reason, I don't like to have that tension in the room. That kind of tension you can cut with a knife, So definitely, it doesn't mean that the relationship is going to be mended, or it might be the end, but at least you got your side out. Oh, okay, good. All right. So now let's look at the audit findings. So those are all the statements I have for each of those areas: the physical, the mental, and emotional qualities of your life. So now let's look at the audit findings. And with this, you want to make yourself a priority. All right. You deserve a quality lifestyle, and our physical, mental, and emotional areas are within our control. That's the one thing that we can control. We can't control anyone else's, but we can definitely control ours. And so I'm going to share some questions. Let me just see. All right. So let me just say that energy drains, such as a chaotic environment, a high stress job, or insufficient insufficient sleep. I must have some because I can't even talk tongue tied. Um, hinder your ability to realize your full potential. So dedicate time to resolve the factors depleting your quality and replace them with activities that lighten you, rejuvenate, and invigorate you. So, as you can see from your audit and your numbers, you can kind of see where some of your gaps are. And I want you to reflect on whether the choices you make about how and where to share your quality truly reflect your priorities, values, and boundaries. Are they evident in your decisions? And if they are, that's great. That's good. Because some of you may have been all fives, because you're always kind of combing through and auditing yourself periodically. If they are, that's great. If not, it's time to devise new strategies. To honor your true self, commit to an activity this week that will either boost your life's quality or address one of the gaps. So I have some questions that I want you to answer. And when you answer them, consider all three areas: your physical, mental, and emotional. And as you consider them, just think about which area you want to focus on for this week. So the first question is, which statement does not align well with my priorities, values, or needs? And I apologize for the typo. I was trying to get this together. Let me see. Slasher Chick is saying, this is most definitely evergreen. I can see myself coming back to this video to do the audit quarterly or twice a year, as you mentioned. Yeah, it's evergreen for sure. So, looking at all the statements from physical, mental, and emotional, which statement does not align well with your priorities, values, or needs? So, you're going to look at all of those. The next question: what actions are you currently taking to address this issue? And if you're not taking any actions, you need to circle it. What actions are you currently taking to address this issue? And the third, what aspects of this issue am I avoiding and why? Think about the physical, mental, and emotional qualities of your life. The fourth question: what possibilities, and this is the beautiful part of it, this is where you grow. What possibilities could open up for me if the quality in this area met or suppressed my current needs? And I think I meant surpassed. I apologize, y'all. Listen, met or surpass my current needs. So, what would it look like for you? What kind of possibilities would come? Would you attract more opportunities? Do you feel that more people would want to collaborate with you? Would you have more patience? Would you be ready for the day and have more energy? Would you feel like um, You want to be more supportive of other people, that you'll be a better listener, that you will have more compassion for others. What are some of those possibilities? And the last question, what obstacles are preventing these possibilities from being realized? What obstacles are preventing these possibilities from being realized? So, as you go through the audit from those statements in those three areas, you want to really scale down, and it might be more, way more than one area that you have circled and are like, this is an area for improvement. And when you notice that, go back over the questions at the end, these 5 questions, and figure out how you can make that change. What is the goal to be better? What area in that moment or in that particular section of quality do you need to improve? And if you have the goals, then you also need to have strategies to go with it. And that goes for another that goes for another video when we can talk about some aspects of strategic goal setting. All right. So now that you have all of that down, I want you to write down your commitment. What area will you focus on this week? Physical, mental, or emotional? And within that area, what statement do you feel you need to improve the most on? And baby steps count too. So again, you may have many, and this is a living, working document now. So just focus on one, because that's the thing. We take too big of a bite and can't chew all the food. And then we end up getting full from that one bite and never going back to it. Talk about, oh, I'm going to eat the rest of that later. Later never comes. So take a tiny bite, which is just one, for this week, and then next week, you can review and revise and say, okay, from that list, from this quarter, or from this half of the year, let's say, um, which other area will I focus on for next week? So take it one step at a time. Don't try to do them all at once, because that could be overwhelming. All right. Any questions? And if you have any questions, please be sure to leave them in the comment if you're watching the replay. If you're here in the chat, I see something coming up. And Slasher Chick is saying, I will focus on physical. I want to reorganize my home office in a way that removes friction for creating. Yes, I like that a lot. And so now, when you say that you want to reorganize, you need to have 7 to 9 strategies on how you're going to reorganize. Just like, the new year, people say, oh, I want to lose weight, and they join the gym. And by February, they don't go to the gym anymore because they didn't have any strategies. They just did the big goal, which was join the gym, but they don't have any strategies. They didn't have an affirmation. So it's good that you have that affirmation from that statement, Slasher Chick. So let that be your statement piece, as if that's what it is. Like, that's what you do. Your home office is organized. That's a statement. And that's how you need to live on that. But how is it organized? Do you have your files, if you have any papers, the papers organized in projects or in clients? How do you have your documents organized? Your digital filing system, how is that set up? Do you use OneNote? I know I use OneNote, and I'm always trying to make sure it's tight and right. Do you have the proper tabs for it? Do you have all the supplies that you need? Do you have power stations? Is it comfortable? You want to make sure you have 7 to 9 strategies on how your home office will be organized. Yes, think about the 7 and implement them at least one per day. Yes, and remember, this is not one and done. So as you implement them, you have to continuously, consciously tell yourself, maybe by the end of the day, that you're going to straighten things up, so that by the next day when you come in or when you go into your office, you're not starting all over. It's not like, okay, I forgot to put this away last night. I need to, make sure this is good before I start. I know for me, I don't start anything. I don't really cook like that, but when I do, the kitchen has to be clean. So when I set up in my office, when I go to my office has to be ready. All I have to do is, if I've taken my laptop, maybe just hooking my laptop up. But I can't in the morning find myself having to shuffle things around or getting things out. No, I make sure the night before that all of that is situated. Yes, you will be set up for success. Absolutely. All right. Well, that's all I have for today. Again, thank you all for tuning in. I love seeing so many in the building. I appreciate the support. This is day 28 of 60, and I will be back tomorrow. I may have a pre-recorded earlier in the day as well as my live. My live will be in the evening. Not sure what time, but you can be sure to count on it. It's been my pleasure sharing this information, and I truly hope that it helps you have a life quality that you deserve. Thanks for tuning in. I am Coach Sherry.